One quiet administrative decision sent shockwaves through the palace corridors. No press release. No official explanation. Just one sudden order from Prince William himself and Aide, abruptly stripped of access to the most private wing of the royal residence. Insiders say it wasn't just a breach of protocol, it was about a photograph. A single image that was never meant to exist, and what it showed could change everything. The order moved fast. Too fast. Security clearance revoked without warning. No internal review. No committee discussion. No quiet conversation behind polished doors to manage the optics. Just a decisive command that cut through the royal household like a blade. In a place where tradition usually dictates patience and diplomacy, this felt different. Immediate. Surgical. Final. The family wing is not simply another section of the residence. It is sanctuary. It is where titles fall away and the weight of the crown loosens its grip, if only briefly. Within those walls, Prince William is not heir to the throne, he is a father, a husband, a man fiercely protective of the small world he has built amid centuries of scrutiny. The wing is guarded not only by security codes and physical barriers, but by trust. And trust in royal circles is rarer than jewels. When word spread that an aide had been barred from entering that sacred space, confusion rippled through the staff. People who had worked decades within palace walls exchanged glances. There were whispers in corridors normally ruled by composure. Something serious, someone muttered. Not scandal. Not yet. But serious enough to unsettle even the most seasoned insiders. What stunned many was William's tone. Those who have watched him navigate public crises know his reputation: calm, measured, deliberate. He consults. He weighs. He listens. But this time, there was no consultation. No senior advisor called in to soften the edges. The instruction came directly from him, and it carried the unmistakable weight of personal offense. It was not political. It was not strategic. It was protective. The timeline only deepened the mystery. Within hours of the alleged incident, access was revoked, credentials disabled, the aide's entry badge deactivated before sunset. By nightfall, the individual had been escorted off the premises, their routine dissolved as though it had never existed. Palace insiders described the speed as unprecedented. In an institution that moves at the pace of tradition, this was lightning. Then came the murmurs about a device. A phone. Confiscated quietly. Not by shouting guards or dramatic confrontation, but by firm hands and controlled silence. No public accusation followed. No formal statement emerged. The palace did what it does best: it sealed its lips. But silence in moments like this is louder than denial. Those close to the situation insist this was not about idle curiosity or minor misconduct. It was about a boundary crossed in the most intimate corner of royal life. Something was captured. Something that should never have been. And whatever that image contained, it was powerful enough to override caution, to override protocol, to override even William's usual restraint. The future king did not hesitate. He did not soften the blow. He drew a line sharp, unmistakable, immovable. And in doing so, he sent a message not only to one aide, but to every person privileged enough to step inside those guarded halls: proximity is not permission. Access is not ownership. Loyalty is not optional. But what could have been so dangerous, so explosive, that it compelled the future king to act without hesitation and without mercy? The family wing isn't just another part of the palace. It's the one place shielded from tradition, ceremony, and political choreography. It's where titles disappear and vulnerability begins. And for someone to lift a camera there uninvited wasn't just a breach of etiquette. It was a violation. Because whatever was captured inside those walls wasn't meant for history. It was meant to stay hidden. Behind the public speeches and diplomatic smiles, this is where Prince William and Catherine retreat to breathe. Away from flashbulbs. Away from analysts dissecting every gesture. Within that protected space, they are not future monarchs under scrutiny. They are parents navigating ordinary fears in an extraordinary life. The family wing holds bedtime conversations, private disagreements, unfiltered laughter, and the quiet exhaustion that never makes it to official portraits. It is sacred precisely because it is human. Security surrounding that sanctuary is meticulous, almost ritualistic. Access is granted sparingly. Entry codes change regularly. Corridors leading toward it are monitored not just by technology but by loyalty. Those permitted inside are not merely employees. They are confidants who have earned trust over years of unwavering discretion. The understanding is unspoken yet absolute. What happens inside those walls remains there, which is why the Aide's presence in a restricted corridor that afternoon unsettled more than just protocol. It raised a deeper question. How did someone trusted enough to pass through those layers of protection suddenly stand where they were not meant to be? Some say there was a shift in the air that day, an unusual tension felt by staff long before any official action was taken. A private conversation had run longer than expected. A door remained closed when it usually opened. Subtle things. But in a household built on routine, subtle changes matter. Then came the moment that still lingers in whispers, a faint but unmistakable sound. A click. Not loud, not dramatic. Just the soft mechanical confirmation that something had been captured. Another staff member reportedly froze, unsure whether they had imagined it. But instinct speaks louder than doubt, and within minutes, questions began to surface. Why was a device even present in that corridor? Why was it raised? And most haunting of all, what had it seen? Speculation grew quietly but fiercely. Was it a moment of private vulnerability? A candid exchange never meant to be interpreted by outsiders? Or something more complex, something that, taken out of context, could distort perception and fuel narratives beyond control? The monarchy survives on image, on carefully shaped presentation. A single uncontrolled frame can fracture that delicate balance. Inside those walls, trust is currency, and the idea that someone might have crossed that invisible boundary for reasons unknown sent a ripple of disbelief through the inner circle. This was not just about a rule broken. It was about intimacy breached. A reminder that proximity to power tempts even the disciplined, that ambition can whisper louder than loyalty, and that the line between service and intrusion can be crossed in the blink of an eye. As the reality of that single, quiet click settled in, the emotional weight grew heavier. For William and Catherine, the sanctuary had been pierced. The place where they felt most protected suddenly felt exposed. And in that realization, something shifted not just in policy, but in perspective. Because if a single click of a camera shattered that invisible wall of trust, the real question becomes, what exactly did that lens capture? No official image has surfaced, no leak confirmed. And yet, sources insist the photograph was real and devastating. It wasn't scandal in the traditional sense, it wasn't criminal, it was personal. Too personal. The kind of image that doesn't destroy reputations, but alters narratives. Something raw. Something unfiltered. Something the monarchy works tirelessly to protect from public view. Those who claim knowledge of the incident speak in careful fragments, never fully revealing, always implying. They describe a moment of vulnerability, not staged, not rehearsed, not filtered through the discipline of royal composure. A crack in the armor. The kind of human moment that would mean little in an ordinary household but carries immense weight within a family whose lives are scrutinized down to the smallest expression. Vulnerability, in the royal sphere, is currency, and exposure of it can shift perception overnight. Conflicting whispers only deepen the tension. Some say it was William, caught in a rare moment of visible strain, the pressure of inheritance etched across his face in a way the public has never been allowed to see. Others insist it involved Catherine, a private exchange stripped of its usual poise, revealing exhaustion rather than elegance. A few even murmur about the children, suggesting the image captured something tender and unguarded, a fragment of childhood that was never meant to be packaged for public consumption. No version is confirmed. Every version feels dangerous. What unites these accounts is one chilling phrase repeated by insiders: emotionally explosive. Not politically catastrophic. Not legally compromising. Emotionally explosive. The kind of image that doesn't shatter institutions in one dramatic blow, but slowly reshapes how the world sees those at its center. And that is precisely what the monarchy fears most: not outrage, but reinterpretation. Then comes the detail that shifts this from rumor to potential betrayal. The Aide allegedly attempted to transfer the file, quietly, not through official channels, not as documentation, but as something separate. A digital movement detected almost as quickly as it began. Within minutes, internal IT systems flagged unusual activity. Firewalls tightened. Access points were locked down. The palace, often portrayed as ceremonial and antiquated, revealed its modern defenses swift, clinical, relentless. Containment was immediate. Devices were secured. Networks isolated. Whatever digital trace existed was intercepted before it could escape the palace ecosystem. Those familiar with the response describe it as a silent storm, no alarms, no chaos, just rapid action executed with practiced precision. The image, if it existed, was trapped before it could breathe outside those walls. And yet, the royal household offered nothing. No denial. No reassurance. Just silence. That silence has become its own narrative, feeding speculation in ways a statement never could. In an age where every rumor demands clarification, the absence of explanation feels deliberate, strategic, almost defiant. Because sometimes saying nothing speaks volumes. The public may never know what that lens captured. But inside the palace, the knowledge lingers. The awareness that a private moment, however fleeting, nearly became public property. That trust was tested not by an outsider with a long lens, but by someone already within the gates. That is the wound beneath the protocol. If the image itself was powerful enough to trigger immediate containment, the Aide's motivations suddenly become the most dangerous piece of the puzzle. Was this a calculated betrayal, or a catastrophic lapse in judgment? The Aide in question wasn't a newcomer. They had proximity, access, trust. So why risk everything for a photograph? In royal circles, ambition can be silent but lethal. And sometimes the most devastating breaches don't come from enemies, they come from those standing closest. This was not someone plucked from obscurity or hired on temporary contract. This was a figure woven quietly into the rhythm of palace life. Years of service. Years of nods exchanged in corridors where discretion is the highest currency. They had witnessed celebrations and tensions alike, carrying out duties without drawing attention, building a reputation for reliability. In a world where loyalty is tested daily, they had passed every test until now, which is what makes the fracture so unsettling. Trust in royal households is not granted lightly. It is earned in fragments, one responsible act at a time, one confidential moment preserved without question. To be allowed into the family wing meant crossing an invisible threshold into intimacy. It meant being seen as safe. So when that safety cracked, it felt less like an error and more like a personal blow. And yet motives rarely reveal themselves cleanly. Some whisper that external pressures had begun to mount. Media intermediaries hovering at the edges of royal life are persistent, patient, and persuasive. A casual inquiry here. A subtle offer there. No direct proposition, perhaps just the suggestion that access has value. That proximity can translate into power. In such an environment, temptation does not announce itself loudly. It whispers. Then there were the financial rumors, faint at first. Then more insistent. Nothing publicly documented, nothing explosive, but enough to raise questions behind closed doors. A strained investment. A personal obligation. The kind of quiet burden that makes risky decisions appear rational in desperate moments. Whether these rumors were true or simply convenient narratives, they added fuel to suspicion, because betrayal often hides behind necessity. When internal questioning began, those present describe an atmosphere thick with disbelief. The Aide reportedly maintained composure, but something in their body language shifted. A hesitation before answering. A stiffness where ease once lived. Not defiance. Not panic. Something more complicated, as though they understood the gravity of the moment but hoped it might still be contained. It wasn't. The phrase that followed has echoed through palace conversations ever since. Irreparable breach. Not a mistake. Not a misunderstanding. An irreparable breach. Words chosen carefully, deliberately. Words that signal not just disappointment, but finality. In royal vocabulary, such phrasing is reserved for moments when trust cannot be restored, no matter how sincere the apology. The removal was swift. Access terminated. Personal items gathered under supervision. No dramatic confrontation, No raised voices, just the quiet dismantling of a career built over years. One day embedded within the heartbeat of the institution, the next escorted beyond its gates, names spoken only in hushed tones. But what lingers most is not the fall of one Aide. It is the unsettling realization that loyalty can erode from within. That ambition, fear, or pressure can twist judgment even in those once deemed dependable. The palace thrives on the illusion of unity. This incident exposed its fragility. And yet, even as the Aide disappeared from public sight, Prince William's next move suggested this wasn't just about discipline, it was about control. Those close to Prince William say something changed that day. Not publicly, not dramatically, but internally. The calm, diplomatic heir to the throne showed steel. Immediate, unyielding. This wasn't palace politics. This was personal protection. And perhaps, buried beneath the composed exterior, was a father and husband refusing to let history repeat itself. For years, William has lived with the shadow of past media intrusions, moments when privacy was stripped away and private pain became public spectacle. He learned early that a single image can carry consequences far beyond the instant it captures. He witnessed how relentless exposure can wound not just reputations, but hearts. And so when the possibility arose that another unguarded moment might slip into the world without consent, something deep and instinctive surfaced within him. His stance on privacy has never been ambiguous. While he understands the monarchy's dependence on public engagement, he has drawn clear boundaries around his family. The message has always been measured yet firm. Public duty does not equate to unlimited access. But this time, the boundary wasn't challenged by an aggressive paparazzo or a distant journalist. It was breached from within. And that betrayal cut differently. In the hours following the discovery of the photograph, a private meeting reportedly took place. No dramatic announcements. No grand declarations. Just a closed-door conversation with senior advisors, voices low, tension unmistakable. William listened, but those present say his mind was already made up. There would be no drawn-out debate. No attempt to soften the impact for appearances. Action had already been taken, and it would not be reversed. What surprised many was his refusal to escalate the matter publicly. In an era where transparency is often weaponized as damage control, he chose silence. Strategic, deliberate silence. No condemnation. No defensive statement. He understood something fundamental. Sometimes speaking fuels the very fire you wish to extinguish. Instead, he allowed the palace's quiet containment to do its work, preserving dignity while sending an unmistakable internal message. Beneath that controlled exterior, however, lay something more visceral. Protective instinct, not the calculated protection of a future king guarding an institution, but the fierce resolve of a father shielding his children. The thought that a private family moment, innocent, tender, unguarded, could be commodified was intolerable. For William, this was not about optics. It was about preventing a repeat of wounds he knows too well. And so subtle shifts began to ripple through the household. Access privileges were reviewed. Movement within sensitive areas tightened. Protocols that had once relied heavily on trust were reinforced with layers of verification. It wasn't a dramatic overhaul. There were no sweeping purges. But those attuned to palace rhythms felt the change. The atmosphere sharpened. The margin for error narrowed. Success and suffering have always lived side by side in royal life. Public triumph, private cost. Glittering ceremonies, silent sacrifices. In this moment, that contrast felt sharper than ever. The world sees composure. But inside, there is vigilance. The future king is learning that protection requires more than grace. It demands resolve. And if this was indeed a turning point, it marked the emergence of a leader less willing to tolerate intrusion, less inclined to forgive breaches of trust. The calm exterior remains, but beneath it lies hardened clarity. Lines have been drawn. Because if this incident was a warning shot, the palace knew something else someone else might have been waiting to capitalize. Within hours of the aide's dismissal, rumors began circulating in media circles. Not specifics, just whispers that something big had almost landed on a newsroom desk. But then, silence. No headline. No expose. As if an invisible force had intervened. The question is chilling: was the photo meant for sale? The first hints didn't arrive in dramatic fashion. They came as coded messages, subtle inquiries, quiet feelers extended toward journalists known for chasing royal exclusives. A vague promise of sensitive material. A suggestion that a private moment had been captured. Nothing concrete. Just enough to stir curiosity. In an industry that thrives on proximity to power, even the faintest scent of scandal is enough to spark movement. Select tabloids reportedly received anonymous tips. No image attached. No file delivered. Only the implication that something extraordinary was within reach. Editors, accustomed to inflated claims, initially dismissed it as another rumor from the palace fringes. But then the calls grew more insistent. The language sharpened. It changes the narrative. One insider allegedly hinted, "It's real." That word "real" was enough to ignite a quiet frenzy. Behind the scenes, there are murmurs of an encrypted file exchange attempt. A digital handshake that almost completed. A transfer initiated, then abruptly halted. Palace systems had already tightened. Internal containment had locked down outgoing data paths. What was meant to slip quietly beyond secure walls was suddenly frozen mid-flight. Those who monitor such exchanges describe it as a near-miss a moment where history teetered on the edge of publication. Journalists who had been buzzing with anticipation fell silent just as quickly. Phones that had been ringing went still. Editors who had prepared contingency plans quietly shelved them. No one published. No one even teased the possibility. It was as though an unspoken understanding rippled through newsrooms. This was not a battle worth fighting without proof. And proof had evaporated. The palace legal team, though never publicly activated, was reportedly placed on standby. Contracts reviewed, non-disclosure clauses re-examined. In royal crises, legal force does not roar. It hums in the background, ready to strike with precision. That readiness alone can be enough to deter publication. Media outlets weigh risk constantly. And this risk, without a tangible image to defend, may have felt too great. One media insider later described it in hushed tones as the one that slipped away. Not because it was fake, not because it lacked impact, but because it vanished before anyone could confirm it. In the age of leaks and instant uploads, disappearance is rare. Stories explode or they fizzle. They do not simply dissolve. And that dissolution has only amplified intrigue. Why did no outlet dare to speculate openly? Perhaps because the palace's silence was louder than denial. Perhaps because editors sensed a line had been crossed, and crossing it publicly would invite consequences beyond headlines. Or perhaps because the absence of the image made it more powerful than any printed frame ever could be. The world never saw the photograph. But the knowledge that it almost did has changed the atmosphere. It has exposed how close vulnerability can come to becoming spectacle. It has revealed the delicate dance between media hunger and royal containment. And while the outside world circled hungrily, searching for scraps of confirmation, the most intense reckoning was unfolding behind closed doors. It wasn't loud. It wasn't theatrical. But those present described the atmosphere as suffocating. A private meeting. No raised voices, just controlled fury. William seated across from someone he once trusted implicitly. A phone placed silently on the table. One question hanging in the air. Why? And in that silence, the future of someone's royal career collapsed. There were no grand speeches. No dramatic accusations hurled across the room. Just the weight of betrayal pressing down on every word. The confiscated device lay between them, no longer a tool of convenience but a piece of evidence. Cold. Incriminating. Final. It didn't need to light up or display its contents to carry power. Its mere presence said enough a boundary had been crossed. William's voice, by all accounts, remained steady, not explosive, not cruel. That steadiness may have made it more devastating. Controlled anger is sharper than chaos. It cuts cleaner. He didn't demand spectacle. He demanded explanation. Years of trust distilled into a single question. And the answer, whatever form it took, could not undo what had already been done. The aide allegedly admitted to taking the photograph. Not with arrogance, not with defiance, but with an acknowledgement that the moment had slipped beyond justification. Some say there was an attempt to frame it as harmless a lapse in judgment. not a calculated act. But in the world they inhabited, intent mattered less than impact. The family wing was sacred, the rule was absolute, and the breach was undeniable. What makes the confrontation more haunting is what did not happen. There was no public apology issued, no carefully worded statement expressing regret, no attempt to manage perception outside those walls. The matter was contained internally, as though dragging it into the open would only deepen the wound. Silence once again became the chosen shield. Termination followed swiftly. No farewell gathering, no ceremonial acknowledgement of years of service. Just the quiet dismantling of a role once considered secure. Access revoked. Responsibilities reassigned. A name removed from internal schedules. In royal life, erasure can be more brutal than scandal. One day woven into daily operations, the next reduced to absence. Staff members, though disciplined enough to maintain composure, were shaken. This was not a minor infraction handled with discreet reprimand. This was decisive. Severe. A signal that even proximity to the future king offers no immunity when trust is compromised. The palace, so often portrayed as immovable and tradition-bound, had acted with startling swiftness. And then there was Catherine. While she was not present in that confrontation, she was reportedly informed privately afterward. No drama, no spectacle. Just the quiet acknowledgement that the sanctuary she cherished had been violated. For her, the incident may have felt less like institutional betrayal and more like personal intrusion. The place where her children laugh and argue and grow had been momentarily exposed. That realization lingers longer than any reprimand. The emotional undercurrent of that meeting did not end when the aide left the room. It settled into the walls, into the daily routines, into the unspoken awareness that loyalty, once fractured, cannot simply be restored by regret. William's composure held, but something within him hardened. The message was unmistakable. Family comes first. Always. Yet even after the confrontation ended, the larger question lingered: was the crisis truly contained? For Prince William, this wasn't just about one aide or one forbidden photograph. It was about precedent, boundaries, control over narrative. The monarchy has survived wars, scandals, abdications, but in the digital age, a single image can destabilize generations of carefully crafted perception. And William knows it. He understands something fundamental about modern power. It no longer rests solely in crowns or ceremonies. It rests in pixels, in frames, in moments captured and shared before truth can catch up. A monarchy built on symbolism cannot afford uncontrolled symbolism. And so this incident became more than a disciplinary matter. It became a recalibration. In the weeks that followed, changes began to unfold quietly but decisively. Internal surveillance policies were strengthened, not with fanfare, but with precision. Digital monitoring expanded. Access logs reviewed more frequently. Devices registered and re-registered. What once relied heavily on personal trust now carried additional layers of verification. Not because William distrusts everyone, but because he now knows that trust alone is fragile. Access privileges across departments were subtly reduced. Long-standing permissions reassessed. Corridors once navigated with ease now required additional clearance. Some staff noticed. Others pretended not to. No one questioned it openly. The message was clear without being spoken: proximity is a privilege, not a right. And privileges can be withdrawn. Outside the palace walls, another shift was taking shape. The divide between monarchy and media, always present, seemed to widen. William has never shied away from public engagement, but there was a sharper edge to his boundaries now. A firmer insistence on respect. A quieter resistance to intrusion. Invitations became more curated. Access more controlled. The dance between transparency and privacy grew more deliberate. His leadership style, once described as diplomatic and patient, began to show steel beneath the polish. He still listens. He still weighs. But when lines are crossed, the response is no longer tentative. It is immediate, calculated, final. Those within his circle recognize the evolution. The heir is becoming a guardian not just of tradition, but of emotional territory. For Catherine, The impact was equally profound, though less visible. Those close to her suggest an increased caution in public appearances. Not withdrawal, but awareness. A recognition that every gesture, every glance, carries weight. If a private moment could nearly become spectacle, then public ones demand even greater discipline. The balance between authenticity and protection has never felt more delicate. And within the palace, the subtle message has settled into daily rhythm. Loyalty is not assumed. Discretion is not optional. The cost of breach is absolute. The aide's removal was not just a consequence. It was a signal flare sent across the institution, a reminder that the future king will not hesitate when it comes to safeguarding his family. Success and vulnerability coexist uneasily in royal life. The world sees prestige. Inside, there is vigilance. The contrast has never been sharper. One photograph nearly tipped that balance. One click almost altered perception, and that near miss has reshaped the environment in ways that may echo for years. Because sometimes the most revealing photograph isn't the one taken, it's the one that never sees the light of day. Some images change history. Others disappear before they ever get the chance. Locked away, deleted, silenced. But erased doesn't mean forgotten. Somewhere, in palace memory and whispered recollection, that photograph still exists not as pixels, but as a turning point. The moment Prince William drew a line in the sand and decided that access to his family would never again be taken for granted. The unseen image has become more powerful than any published scandal could have been. Its absence is its force. Because what we cannot see, we imagine. And imagination can be more unsettling than reality. That single frame intercepted, contained, buried, now symbolizes something larger than its content. It represents the fragile boundary between public role and private soul, between crown and cradle. Proximity to power has always carried a price. For centuries, courtiers and aides have navigated the delicate dance of loyalty and ambition. But in the modern era, proximity also carries opportunity: digital, instantaneous, global. A single act of betrayal can echo across continents in seconds. The aide who once walked those guarded corridors learned that truth too late. Access is intoxicating. But access without restraint is destructive. Inside the palace, something intangible shifted. Trust, once assumed in quiet gestures and long service, now carries caution. Conversations are measured, permissions scrutinized. The inner circle understands that one fracture can ripple outward in ways no one intends. And while the monarchy projects continuity and calm, those within know how close they came to a narrative spiraling beyond control. Under pressure, William did not crumble. He recalibrated. The experience hardened something in him, not his compassion, but his boundaries. The heir who once balanced openness with optimism now leads with sharper awareness. He has seen how quickly vulnerability can be weaponized, and he has chosen, decisively, to protect what matters most. That transformation may never be announced in speeches, but it is etched into policy, into posture, into resolve. The monarchy's battle with exposure is not new. It has survived invasions of privacy before. It has weathered headlines and heartbreak. But this moment felt different because it came from within. Not an outsider peering through a lens, but someone trusted enough to stand inside the gates. That realization lingers. It reminds the institution that threats are not always loud or obvious. Sometimes they are quiet, familiar, close, and so the lingering question remains, hovering like a shadow. Was this the first attempt, or merely the first one caught? In a world driven by content and consumption where every intimate moment is potential currency, can any boundary truly remain secure? The palace has tightened its defenses. William has drawn his line. But the hunger for access does not disappear simply because a door is closed. The photograph may never surface. Its contents may remain known only to a handful of people bound by silence. Yet its impact is undeniable. It changed the atmosphere. It altered trust. It marked the moment a future king chose firmness over flexibility. And as the palace gates close tighter than ever before, one truth remains undeniable in a world obsessed with capturing everything. The most powerful act may be refusing to let the camera click at all, leaving us to wonder what history almost witnessed that day.